ladies and gentlemen, and I'd like to thank the Writers and Journalists Foundation for now 9 years of support of the Sustainable Development Goals. That's a great service to the global community that works with us on the SDGs. It's over a decade ago when I met them in Istanbul for one of the most amazing 90-minute analyses of the state of the world at that time. So we owe much to our sponsors and hosts. Ladies and gentlemen, I suggest that there is a useful barometer for assessing our overall progress in the SDGs. Here it is. In the good years, we are laser focused on the details of implementing specific programs within a single SDG or the pairing of several together. These are the seasons of optimism and progress. You can watch the global community, and it's happened again and again, rolling up its collective sleeves and getting down to the work together, solving the difficult challenges in particular areas. When on-the-ground changes are being made, and there's energy and hope, when we're measuring the outcomes and seeing progress, there's optimism and hope. In my organization, EcoCiv, we saw this productivity during our consultation on the urban water crisis in Cape Town just before COVID. We saw it more recently as we helped the NGO Water for South Sudan to launch a new water institute last year. But ladies and gentlemen, as you know from the SDG reports in 2023 and 24, this is not one of those moments, not one of those seasons. The famous words of Antonio Guterres are echoing in our ears, quote, "Unless we act now," he said, "the 2030 agenda will become an epitaph for a world that might have been." Indeed, many of us heard a similar message from the Environment Minister of Samoa, Cedric Schuster, in her interview just 2 days ago. Speaking as chair of the Alliance of Small Island States, Cedric Schuster said, are worried that, quote, "Our countries are moving further and further away from the unity and the moral fortitude that we require to protect our people." She then said the truth bluntly. Quote, "The vulnerable people of our world are drained by lip service, are drained by lip service. With 6 years to go, with many of the metrics heading in the wrong direction, and with wars expanding, there's no doubt about the gravity of this moment. Fortunately, it's the tradition of this series of SDG summit meetings not to dwell on the darkness, but instead to look for where the hope lies and to listen and learn as experts on particular SDGs identify the pathways to get us there. We will hear innovative solutions and calls to action in the 3 panels that follow. In preparation for the work that lies ahead of us today, and in the years to come, I offer 3 images as a foundation for today's discussions. The first image, dark times require guiding light. Today, every study underscores the widening disparity between the nations that are contributing most to global warming and those who are suffering its worst effects. There's no longer any doubt. The climate crisis is not just an environmental issue. It's a matter of global justice. In fact, I would argue the greatest global injustice in the history of our species is what we're doing to the climate and the ecosystems around the world at this point. The richest 1% causing 40% of the damage. The poorest with no resources to adapt to a changing world. So let this be our guiding light in dark moments. Global justice is the starting place of all of our SDG work and the final destination of every specific initiative in the 17 SDGs. The light of justice does shine in the darkness, and the darkness shall not overcome it. A second image. We turn our eyes to the future to direct our steps today. We turn our eyes to the future to direct our steps today. 4 days ago, Assembly President Philemon Young lowered his gavel at the General Assembly, and the Pact for the Future became a United Nations consensus statement. Hear the words: the heads of state and government representing the peoples of the world gathered at UN headquarters to protect the needs and interests of present and future generations through the actions in this pact for the future. It is a pact for, quote, all those generations that do not yet exist and who will inherit this planet. We labor for the SDGs on behalf of future generations, even as we struggle to achieve the goals in the present. But why? Why should future generations be our ultimate moral guide? It's because of a principle called the intergenerational multiplier effect. Let me describe it. You understand, when humans living today cause the destruction of a rainforest, or the death of coral, or the loss of the Thwaites Glacier, the Antarctic ice sheets melting, these losses affect not just today's population, but each of the countless generations yet to be born onto this beautiful blue-green planet of ours. This is why the Pact for the Future, quote, resolves to ensure that present generations act with responsibility to safeguard the needs and interests of future generations. We work toward the SDGs because of the suffering we see around us today, but not only because of that, but also on behalf of the rights of those yet to come. Remember when Greta Thunberg was asked, so you're always talking about 1.5 degrees Celsius as the upper limit of warming. So what do you do when the Earth has passed your 1.5 maximum? And without missing a beat, Greta responded, I start fighting for a maximum of 1.6. We've never lost. We just fight for it. So also for us, the SDG world, we're fighting hard for the targets by 2030. But our work continues as long as there are generations still to come. We turn our eyes to the future to direct our steps. Before I close with a final image, I want to present a framework that we and many around the world are using to guide our work. Ecological civilization. This combination of terms points to the place where the values of ecology and the values of the global community come together. For surely the heart of the SDGs is found in the harmony of human and ecological values. The UN vision is to celebrate the immense diversity of cultures and ecosystems, joined together by our unwavering commitment to justice and sustainability for all. And the SDGs are what happens when this vision puts on its working clothes and gets to work. It's the action side of that vision, that enormous vision. So ecological civilization is the wedding of ecology and global justice. Ecology plus civilization means ecological harmony for ecosystems and compassionate justice for human communities. I leave you with a third and final image. Last year, it was my privilege to walk in the ancient forests of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, Mount Chiang Mai. On this mountain in southwest China, indigenous people have planted and cultivated tea trees for well over 1,000 years. This working together on the mountain of natural resources and human civilization in the context of indigenous lifeways and forms of thought has created some of the finest green tea on this planet. To walk in that tea forest, to smell, to watch the ceremony of the blessing of the trees, to recognize tea, tea trees are normally grow to about 1 meter tall in straight rows, industrial tea production. These are trees allowed to grow in a natural ecosystem with a culture that lives bound together with that forest. That, for me, is the image I want to leave before you as we think of what it's like to succeed in these 17 projects. It's to walk in forests where people and planet are fused as one.